Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the odd vlog, and we've literally just seen part 3 of the new Kenobi show, so I just wanted to get my kind of reaction out there for this week's video. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, you might want to go and watch it first before you watch the video. So, I'm going to cut right to it. Last chance for a spoiler warning. So basically, long story short, with this episode, we actually get the confrontation that I think a lot of fans were really kind of building up to and hoping for between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. So they finally confront each other in this episode, have a kind of fight, and my initial reaction after literally just seeing it, I kind of feel like it was really underwhelming, and I don't know why, because I kind of feel like it should have felt really epic, and for some reason it just doesn't quite feel that way, and I assume it's probably just me, I don't know, but something about it just doesn't feel quite right. I sort of feel like maybe they've done it too soon in the series. Like the whole series should have been building up to all of this, kind of like in the way that episodes 1, 2, and 3 do, and you know, building up to this sort of final climactic scene of this fight between the two characters. Whereas, you know, we're only in part 3, we're only, you know, barely halfway through the entire series, and already they've confronted one another and had this fight, this showdown, which is yeah, there's just something about it that doesn't feel quite right. And it's I've watched it back a couple of times just to kind of see, you know, if maybe it was just the first time I was seeing it didn't feel right. But I don't know, it feels very quick. It feels very rushed, like it's happening all of a sudden. And the kind of fight sequence itself is not great, but I mean, obviously that's comparing it to episode 3, which was one of the greatest, you know, lightsaber battles with Duel of the Fates ever done. And with this one, it's slightly different. Vader is 10 years on from that, so he's a hell of a lot stronger than he was before, whereas Kenobi's gone the other way. He hasn't done any training or anything for 10 years, and as a result he's kind of, you know, weak and feeble in this. So it's incredibly one-sided, and there's a real, you know, there's a real power shift between the two of them, and you know, the dynamic, it's not a fair fight basically, and it kind of just doesn't feel quite right. You just basically got Kenobi running away as much as he can, and Vader sort of tracking him down, and they have you know, an eventual fight between the two of them with their lightsabers, and it's very much that Vader's just toying with Kenobi, and you know, Kenobi just doesn't stand a chance, which is fine, and it's sort of, you know, it's like watching kind of in episode 4. Even then, the fight between the two of them isn't particularly epic, in the sense that the fight scene, the actual fight sequence, isn't brilliant, compared again to episode 3. So it's not the greatest fight sequence in the world, and I don't know if it's just that's kind of lingering in my mind. But there's just, as I say, there's just something about it that just doesn't quite feel right. I wondered if it was maybe the music. You know, maybe the music doesn't provide enough tension in it, and when I watched it back a second time, I did kind of think that maybe that had something to do with it. You know, I think it would have been way better if they'd played much more heavily with the Duel of the Fates theme and used that music, or an edit version of that music. It just would have felt like it was these two characters getting back together again for a rematch, and it just didn't have that weight to it. I kind of feel like a lot of people are going to love it purely because it's those two characters facing off, which is something that we've kind of been waiting for and wanting in this series. But yeah, there's just, for me, it just didn't quite work. I think it was done too soon, and I felt like with the music, it could have just had a lot more tension and a lot more energy to it. I don't have any issue with the way in which, like like Star Wars Theory, for example, was kind of criticizing the whole dragging Kenobi through fire thing. I don't really have a problem with that, because I feel Darth Vader isn't there. I don't think he wants to kill Kenobi. I think he wants to hurt Kenobi, and you do that by torturing him effectively, which is what Vader's doing. Dragging him through fire is retaliation for their fight on Mustafar, and that's that. You know, it was the other way around, with one of them going into the lava. So it's an act of revenge, and it's not a case of wanting to kill Kenobi. It's wanting to make him suffer. That's what Vader's trying to do. So I didn't really have a problem with that. Although I kind of felt like I kind of felt like the reaction from Kenobi from being dragged through fire didn't really. I don't know. It was a little bit poor. I have to say. If you're going to be dragged through fire, you don't cry out and whimper. You would be screaming at the top of your voice, and that just doesn't happen, and it just feels a little bit. I don't know. It just feels a little bit poor. But I totally get that. Vader wants to basically drag him off, probably parade him in front of the Emperor, and basically just torture him for the rest of his days. So I totally get that. I think it's just the way that the scene plays out and just the way that it's perhaps been put together and constructed. It just doesn't really work. And yeah, it's just the energy in the scene just doesn't really feel right. It doesn't feel as epic as it should have been or could have been. But I don't know if I'm just being too picky or if it just didn't click with me for some reason. I don't know why. But it is still great to see, Vader and Kenobi facing off, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last time that it happens in this series, because maybe this is just like a prelude to a much bigger conflict between the two of them, a much bigger fight. It could well be, because obviously, the episode ends with Kenobi making an escape. He's obviously really hurt and burnt himself now from this tiny little showdown, and no doubt for the next few episodes it's basically going to be Vader trying to track him down to finish the job, get him captured and carry on the pain that he wants him to feel. So there's a lot of direction now for the series to go on and continue. And similarly now, Raver, I still don't know how to say it, has also captured Leia too. So there's obviously going to be something playing out on there. Maybe Kenobi runs off and tries to just recover, but he can't because he's got to go back and save Leia again, and then that leads to Vader kind of using Leia as bait. But I kind of feel like Leia and Vader shouldn't meet, because I don't know, I get the sense that if Vader doesn't really find out that he's got a daughter until episode 5 or 6, then he shouldn't really meet her. I just feel like if he does, then there's probably too much power in the Force for him to not figure it out by being in her presence, because obviously she's part Padme, so it's like surely he's going to notice that. So I don't quite know how that's going to work, and I also question whether or not Raver even needed to capture Leia. That's not the prize. It's Kenobi, and in that moment, because she's running through the tunnels, she doesn't even know that Kenobi and Vader are facing off with one another. And I can't really think that sort of capturing Leia would have a huge result for her, based on what she knows in that moment. But anyway, that's what she's done, and is taking her off somewhere. So it'll be interesting to see actually how that plays out. But yeah, I sort of hope that Leia and Vader don't cross paths, because I just feel like that doesn't work for me as a script thing, as a storytelling thing, in context of everything else. So yeah, we shall see what happens next week in part 4. As I say, the sequence didn't feel right to me in terms of its energy and its flow. But what did you think? Leave a comment. Let me know. It's probably just me. I'm sure it is just me. Most things usually are. I feel like a lot of people probably really loved it, and I hope so. And I hope that we get another showdown between the two of them later on in the series. That's perhaps just a little bit more build up to it, and a bit more presence to the scene. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens between the two of them. I really can't wait to sort of see how it all plays out. Interestingly as well, like when Kenobi's running away, and Vader's sort of like taunting him, almost like chasing him through these like sandy hills and dunes in this I don't know, this facility that they're sort of having this fight in. I kind of felt like they could have done a little bit more with like some real horror vibes in there. It just could have been a lot more menacing and a lot more scary, with Kenobi being hunted down by Vader. Something again, it just didn't feel quite right to me with the energy of it. But there we go. That's just me. Yeah, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the episode? I think the episode overall was really good. I just think maybe the sequence of events and the way they've done these scenes and put them together could have been done a little bit differently. But overall, still really enjoyable. It's obviously, it's still Star Wars, so I love it. And yeah, great to see the characters all coming together, and great to see Vader. It's the first time we've, other than that really short snippet, and also a sort of like ghost Anakin appearing in that episode as well, which is really cool. Actually seeing, Hayden Christensen in what looked like a kind of Jedi robe, but obviously a little bit older, and as a vision to Kenobi. That was great. That was a nice little touch. I really enjoyed that. Also, shout out to the 501st, who were playing a lot of the Stormtroopers in that episode as well. That's always something I love to see in these Disney Plus series, is using the 501st. I think that's just really cool. Anyway, I digress. So there we go. Those are my just initial thoughts and feelings and reactions from part 3. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.